All right, Iris Makler, really interesting live for us there in Jerusalem. Thank you very much. Let's get some more analysis then on that situation, in particular on those questions of the hostages by Giora Eiland. He's a retired Major General in the Israel Defense Forces and the former head of the Israel National Security Council as well. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for your time on France 24.
Thank you for having me.
Do you believe Israel is preparing now for a ground offensive in Gaza?
I believe that sooner or later ground operation will be conducted, although this is not a goal, this is a possible measure. What is more important, and we have to understand, besides the problem of the hostages that in a moment I will refer to, and besides to other things, we have to understand that this kind of war is actually an existential war for the state of Israel, and let me explain. If we want that the people, the thousands of people who lived in the 22 towns and villages along the border that were captured and hundreds of their people who were massacred by the terrorists, if we want them at some point to return to their villages and to decide to continue and grow their children there, we have to completely eliminate the threat of Hamas. And in order to eliminate the threat of Hamas, there is only one way to achieve it, and this is by using all the aggressive measures that we have, including, if it needed, to create a terrible humanitarian crisis in Gaza, because this kind of pressure might be the more effective one that might push them to decide to certain things that so far they refuse to do.
That is quite extraordinary, sir. You believe that...
It is a total war by all sense, and it is not only in regard to Gaza, because there are thousands of other Israelis who live along our other borders, whether it is the north or the east or elsewhere, that are watching the situation. And if they believe that Israel will not be able to retain a complete security to the people who live along the borders, this might lead to a terrible catastrophe to the existence of the state of Israel.
But let me ask you this. This isn't the first time Israel has intervened in Gaza. Israel occupied Gaza for many years. Israel has tried already to bomb Hamas to death. It hasn't worked before. Hamas seems only to be getting stronger. So why do you believe that by doing this now, and as you say, imposing clearly a very severe humanitarian situation on the Palestinians stuck there, that it will work this time?
The answer is simple, because we have no other choice. And when you have no other choice, you take all the necessary measures. But there is something beyond that. Whenever we speak about Hamas as a terrorist organization, while the poor people of Gaza are suffering, this is a wrong description of the situation. Hamas was elected in democratic way by the people of Gaza 17 years ago, and it is strongly supported by the people of Gaza. And they decided that they refuse to have any kind of normal life, despite the Israeli withdrawal, despite of the Israeli support of building projects of energy and water in Gaza, despite the fact that hundreds or thousands of people from Gaza have jobs in Israel. All this is rejected by the people of Gaza, who prefer to fight and to die.
Well, and as we have been reporting, there are many civilians, sir, who remain in Gaza, who are trapped as a result of this Israeli blockade.
Let me finish my argument. Since this is the nature of the people who live there, and this is their strategic decision, the state of Israel has no other choice but to retaliate and to eliminate the threat. And only when the all capacity of Hamas are destroyed, we will be able maybe to achieve some kind of stability and the cessation of violence. And we cannot stop before that, because if we do, the Israeli citizens will not return to their homes. And as a nation, we cannot afford to be in such a situation.
Your message is
that the
clear,
threat
sir.
from Gaza continues.
Let's talk about some of the specifics, though, because surely any kind of ground offensive now will be complicated by the hostage situation on the ground. I know you have experience yourself with recovering hostages from Gaza. You were involved in that effort to free the most famous Hamas hostage, Gilad Shalit. But this isn't just one person in Gaza. Potentially, there are hundreds of people trapped. So how does Israel get those people back safely? Because as you were hearing from our correspondent a while ago, there are already reports that allegedly 4 Israelis have been killed in the airstrikes that are ongoing.
This is an obvious psychological warfare conducted by Hamas. Of course, that this is what they would say. No one can verify whether it is true or not. But if we want to be consistent, at least let's agree that the following thing should be agreed. If people around the world want that Israel will not create such a terrible humanitarian situation in Gaza, at least we have to agree that as a condition for a cessation of Israeli aggressive activities, then the Red Cross, the International Red Cross, has to visit the Israelis who live there and to see what is their medical situation and to bring a list of all the people. And only after such a thing is happening, we can consider to stop the activities. Otherwise, what you are implying is that we have to give up, to raise our hands and to do nothing because Hamas is saying that the Israeli bombs are killing the hostages.
All right, let me ask you, sir, one more question, if I may.
This is a clear recipe for something that we cannot agree.
All right, time is tight, and I want to get your views on this wider issue. I mean, the images that we saw in Israel over the weekend were absolutely extraordinary. This is quite a security breach for Israel. The country has the most sophisticated military in the Middle East. It sells its surveillance technology all around the world. So how did the Israeli army not see this coming? How did they let this happen?
This is something that I don't have answer. I think that even the Israeli officials of today don't have a complete answer, and it has not been investigated. There is no doubt that there is a terrible failure here. And the only partial explanation that I can give is the following thing. Soldiers behave not according to orders and instructions, but according to mindset, according to psychological status. And they have been told for many, many years that we have such a great intelligence abilities. So if Hamas decides sometime to do something, it is definitely we are going to get an early warning in advance. And when such an early warning has not been given for some bizarre reasons, the soldiers that had to be much more ready were not ready because they relied on the intelligence. This is a terrible mistake. We paid a terrible price. This is our, let's say, problem or our failure. And we have not only to learn from it, but to fix whatever can be fixed in other Israeli fronts.
Giora Eiland, a former Major General in the Israeli Defense Force. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.